Did you guys catch that news conference today? Mm-hmm. Trump blames DEI for the plane crash. Let's talk about it and talk about what that means for the future. I'm sorry over there. Something's going on over here. Instagram is glitchy. So I don't know if y'all can see me over there. But for everybody else, let's get right into it. So today, we are less than 24 hours away at the time of following the horrible plane crash that happened right here, Washington, D.C., National Airport, the airport that is my preferred airport that I utilize regularly. In fact, should be flying out of there from next week. And that horrible crash last night happened. Today, less than 24 hours away from the crash, bodies still in the Potomac River to be recovered, families mourning, all of the pieces still being put together. Like they literally don't have all the pieces of the plane. It took a while. I don't know if by the time of the actual press conference, if they had actually recovered the black box, like they were still putting things together, investigation just going. Okay, I'm gonna have to try this again, you guys, because it keeps messing up. All of a sudden, here he goes. Okay. Trump decides to say, oh, it's DEI. It's DEI. It's DEI. Because you need people who are really smart people. Let's unpack that a little bit. So he is going to sit here, zero evidence of anything. Like nobody knows what caused the crash, period, number one. Number two, everybody has to take the same damn test to be an air traffic controller. And you're not an air traffic controller until you pass the test, number two. Number three, he wanted to distract, if you ask me, from what he's done. So let's take a look at that, shall we? Okay. When this crash happened, there was no FAA administrator on duty. There was no FAA administrator on duty at all. Why? Because Elon Musk had convinced him to convince the FFA person to resign. They got rid of him. He was part of the big sweep that they're doing right now with the federal government. So there was no FAA lead in existence. He had also gotten rid of a whole focus on aviation safety, fired tons of people in relation to that. They've been pulling back on, he's been firing people all throughout the federal government and forcing people to resign. So people were understaffed. It has been literally shared already that the air traffic controllers team was understaffed that night. Like supposedly they had enough to meet with minimal qualifications, but it was not as many people there as they normally have. And so the full team was not there. Then you have to look at who's going to do the investigation. And that would be the head of the Department of Transportation, who is one of his people that just got through. Does this person have any background in transportation? Well, no, he does not. Mr. I'm so concerned about merit. So what's his background? He's been in 1, 2, 3 reality shows, The Real World, Boston, The Real World All Stars, and then some other Real World knockoff or derivative of it. Then he became a Fox News co-host. Ooh, he's been on Fox News. So that's what makes him qualified to be the head of the Department of Transportation. And that is who is going to oversee the investigation of this crash. I say all of this to say, we all know that this whole screed against DE&I is a distraction. It is a concerted effort to nullify the accomplishments and question the accomplishments of anyone that's not a white man, specifically in society. But I want you to think of this about something in a different way. This is a harbinger of something bigger that's going on here. And I mentioned this yesterday, and I'm going to keep harping on it because I believe it's true. And I think somebody needs to raise the alarm. Here is the issue. They are engaged in a process of societal reordering. They want to shift societal norms to the point of they want to rearrange positioning in society. That has absolutely nothing to do with merit. Because if you look at him, number one, once again, a Nepo baby who has still managed to go bankrupt 6 times. If you look at his VP, who had only been in public service for 18 months before he was selected as vice president, does not have anywhere near the experience that's necessary to be vice president, much less president, if Trump were to kick the bucket. If you look at the people that he is putting in positions of supreme power in his cabinet, you have Kennedy, whose hearings they're still having, has zero medical background whatsoever, unless you want to include the fact that he's some sort of anti-vaxxer conspiracy theorist, but that is not medical training, as the head of Health and Human Services. And let's not even talk about, of course, the new head of the Department of Defense, who best qualification perhaps was a weekend Fox News co-host. He had some military training, but it was in the National Guard, nowhere near being a 4-star general who is the black man that he's about to replace. Not to even mention all of his other disqualifying features in terms of his history that looks very shaky with regards to alcoholism and potential physical abuse or abuse of women in some way, shape, or form. And the list goes on and on. They're all like equally unqualified. So we know that this whole issue about qualifications is a farce. We also know it just because we understand why DEI was needed in the first damn place, because if merit was really all that, we wouldn't even need this. So what the real grand plan here is to implicitly continue to suggest that if you are not white, you are not worthy of certain positions, that you shouldn't be in certain spaces, that you aren't intelligent enough to handle certain jobs. You see, when he was saying and using that term black job in the campaign, he was telling you what he was thinking then. There are certain jobs that he expects to be black jobs, which means that if there are certain jobs that he expects to be black jobs, and there are certain jobs that he expects to be white jobs. I mean, doesn't that make sense? So what he is saying here, as he is disparaging and lying his little ass off, well, not little, lying his big ass off, okay, around DEI is the reason. And just think about the depravity. How do you pronounce that? How depraved of a human being do you have to be when bodies are still in the river that you would fix your mouth to lie around that? And how disrespectful it is to all of those families who are mourning, but I will also say specifically to the Black people who died on that flight, to include a stewardess, as well as an incoming Howard University young law professor, a young sister just starting her career as a law professor, we now know was one of the victims on that flight. I say all of this to say, what is happening right now is an attempted reordering of society. It's an attempting reordering of society where there will be white jobs and black jobs, where there will be opportunities for white businesses to get contracts and opportunities for black businesses to get the scraps. Or at least that is what I believe is their goal, it's their motivation, it's what they would like to create. It's the new societal order that they would like to bring about. But the point is, we have to resist it. We have to. And I could not be any more clear around that, because here I am looking at the relative silence coming out of the Democratic Party. They're just so slow. The other side is sitting here trying to act like this is a normal situation, and it's far from normal. They're trying to play the traditional political game, and clearly they're going to extra legal notions. I had a friend who shared with me today, and I didn't even know about this, but there are a couple of states right now. I want to say it's Indiana and maybe Kentucky. Excuse me if I'm wrong, but there are like at least 2 states right now that have eliminated funding for black colleges, for their black colleges in their states. I say all that to say that the next thing that's going to be under attack will be HBCUs. Mark my word. The way these people operate, they did the same thing, by the way, with Stand Your Ground. They did the same thing with DE&I when they were attacking that at the state level, and other examples. But they will create basically a bill. They will create, in essence, they'll write out a bill and they will send it to Republicans in state legislatures in which they control. And all of them will introduce that bill, looking to pass that law in their state. That's how you get multiple states from coast to coast with Stand Your Ground laws. That's how you get multiple states from coast to coast that now have made DEI illegal in their states, or have at least tried to make it illegal in their states. 41 out of 50 states. That shit did not happen organically. I want you to understand that that was a planned attack. And the next stage of this attack is going to be going after defunding HBCUs. Now, let's put all of this together. Let's take the 1,000-foot level examination of what's going on in this moment. At the same time, they are attacking federal workers, which we know are disproportionately Black, because historically, I'm not saying it's majority Black, but I am saying that is a place where historically Black, it really was oftentimes the foundational level for a lot of our families to get into the middle class. And that was because of the rampant level of racism in private industry. Some of the first Black families to get to middle class status, they got there via government jobs. And then they told their children, go get good government jobs. I'm sure a lot of us have heard that, right? And so because of that tradition, there is a disproportionate number of Black people who work for the federal government. Guess who's trying to gut out the federal government? Old boy over there. Even if it's with a lie. Trying to tell people, all 2 million federal workers, that if you quit, we'll make sure that we pay you through September. Ain't got one bit of power to do it. Funding does not come through the presidency. It comes through Congress. There have not been any laws passed to be able to buy out the salary of 2 million federal workers. I mean, what? Who? Y'all know that ain't going to happen. But they're going to try it. And unfortunately, some people are probably going to get caught. They're probably going to think it's true. They're probably going to resign, and then they'll never get paid. So they don't need to fool them all, but they're trying to fool some. Okay? So they're going after federal workers in that way. They're going after federal workers in another way, in terms of how they initially came out, guns a-blazing, going after people who were in the DEI space, shutting down in total DE&I offices. They've done that. They've also rolled out, but in essence, a blacklist of people who are federal contractors. So now we're talking about federal businesses and Black businesses. If you have in the past done anything related to DE&I, guess what? You're on the blacklist. And while they're in office, you're not going to receive any other federal funding, federal awards. They've already said that. And they're implementing on it. I know someone who's on the list. They are strong arming and pressuring private industry to eliminate DE&I. And here's the thing I want people to understand, because there is a bit of confusion going around with this. And I will say this, just like Black people were not the majority of people who benefited from affirmative action, Black people are not the majority of the people who benefit from DE&I. That is absolutely true. Why is it? Because when Black people actually put in the work, when we spilled the blood to expand rights in this country, our work ends up being used to the advantage of everybody. And so there really isn't anything out here in terms of civil rights law that's just for Black people. Okay, that's just not how it works. When you say you can't discriminate, it's not saying you just can't discriminate against Black people. It's saying you're not supposed to discriminate against anyone across race and gender. So if you're using that law in order to fight back against centuries of discrimination that have kept people out of positions, with the exception of white men, what happens when you open up that door? Now, a lot of people can utilize it, and disproportionate is white women that benefit. But I will say this. There is one statistic that's out there that's saying, only 4% of DE&I workers are Black. That is not accurate. It is a disrepresentation of the data, because when you look deeper, what it's calculating is chief diversity officers, not everyone that has a job in the DE&I space. And just like this is, once again, it's another indicator of systemic racism in this country, quite frankly. Once we're talking about C-suite positions, I don't care what that C-suite position is, including chief diversity officer, they are overwhelmingly white. This is why only 4% of chief diversity officers are Black, because it's a C-suite position. But that's not the only job in the DE&I space. So please stop thinking that only 4% of the workers who have a position somewhere within DE&I are Black. I just have not seen that data at all. That 4% number comes from chief diversity officers only. That said, the reason why it's important, though, to know, not to be swayed by that, is though it is true to say the majority of the recipients of the benefit is probably not going to be Black people because of what I just said. It probably will be disproportionately white women. But still, I don't want us to minimize the impact, the negative impact that eliminating DEI will have on us writ large. There are too many Black people around here running around saying, we're only 4%. Why am I worried about that? Well, you should be worried about that because it's not just related to DE&I jobs. That whole push was around making sure that a broader scope of people were interviewed for every type of job opportunity, even if it had absolutely nothing to do with DE&I. It was about making sure that they had an incentive to at least interview all sorts of people and not just white men for white jobs, as Trump would say. So they're going after opportunity across the board, not just in the DE&I profession. That's what you need to understand. In addition to that, let's talk about supplier diversity. Let's talk about the contracts that are given to businesses and how supplier diversity initiatives were put into place to incentivize companies to actually hire Black businesses, to work with Black contractors, to actually support and utilize and take advantage of, or not take advantage of, what's the word I'm looking for? Stock products from Black-owned businesses, like what we've seen with the whole controversy with Target. The bottom line here is that supplier diversity incentivizes bigger corporations to do business with Black businesses. And when that goes away, what do you think will be the trickle down effect on Black businesses? Please don't diminish the severity of the attack that's happening right now. All of that is happening. And in the midst of all of that, you have this fool. You have this fool at the podium today behind the presidential seal, initially, basically saying that if you're not a white man, you do not have the intelligence to be an air traffic controller. And the reason why those people are dead is because clearly there was somebody there that wasn't white. He might as well have just said that. This is dangerous. This is dangerous. Like I said, this is more than about mere political differences. This is an attempt to completely reorder society. This is an attempt to create a caste-like system in America, akin to an apartheid system, akin to the Jim Crow system, akin to that, where only certain opportunities are reserved for whites, and everyone else gets the rest that they don't want, that pay less, that don't provide as much opportunities. That is the goal. So I'll say all that to say, what needs to be done now at this point is to understand a couple of things. There are some companies that are not being intimidated into eliminating their programs. I'm going to speak to business owners here. Now it's time to get strategic about how you can really, first of all, understand the comprehensiveness of what companies those are and start to figure out what can you do to get in position to work with them. Because just mathematically speaking, there will be less opportunity for that. Obviously, we need to buy internally. Everybody knows that. But we also know for business owners, we also need to think about the broad range of opportunities that are available out there. And for those of you who have been negatively impacted by this blacklist, now you really have to start thinking about what other opportunities are there available. How can I shift my business so that I can now make up for the loss of revenue that I'm going to experience because I'm no longer going to be able to rely on these federal contracts? We're going to have to be agile in this moment. We're going to have to be innovative in this moment. We're going to have to be bold in this moment. And we're going to have to stand out, particularly when it comes to competing for the remaining opportunities among the group of companies that have decided that they are not going to go down this negative, ugly, racist road that Trump and his cohorts are creating. Now is not the time for business as usual. Now is the time for more, for different, for collaboration, for partnership even as well. Expanding your scope of opportunities if you can partner with others so that maybe some things that you can't do, somebody that you know can. We have to move differently in this new age. We have to move differently in this new era. We have to be at a place where we can win. Listen, I am going to let you know I'm doing my part to make sure that we're in a position to move differently. I'm doing my part to make sure that we are able to do something that would open up opportunity and help us to be able to work together more collaboratively in this new space and more strategically in this new space. I'm developing something that's going to help us to be able to really be more competitive in this new time and also be able to reimagine what our business needs to do to be able to compete in this new space. Because we need it. Absolutely right, Kanisha. Time for strategic partnerships. I saw that, Jacob. I saw that RFK's response to Senator Alsabrook's vaccine schedules was amazing. It is really disturbing to see the direction that we're going in right now. But listen, if you'd like to know more about what I'm putting together, I am putting together to help us get there. Let me know in the comments. Put more in the comments. I will inbox you some information. If you want to know more, I will inbox you information, because here's the thing. I know, like I know, if ever there was a time when we need to work together to move forward and to move up, that time is now. It is as if, honestly, I hate to be dramatic, but I don't think we've seen anything like this as a people since the post-Reconstruction period. I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. My PhD is in political science. I've worked in politics. I've worked with political figures, like with politicians. I've testified on Capitol Hill multiple times. I've been involved with policy briefings. I've written policy briefs. I've been in the nitty-gritty of politics. I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. This is a modern day post-Reconstruction era. We cannot be caught flat-footed. We can also not need to rely on politicians, because they're honestly, they look like they're, at this moment, I feel like there is no opposition party to fight back. We have to lock arms and fight back ourselves. And it's my belief that the best way to fight back is through the acquisition of economic power, because they're going for us economically. They're looking to gut us economically from every direction. Gutting the contracts that our companies can have or significantly reducing them, gutting the opportunity to get access to the middle class via middle class wages in certain stable jobs, like in the federal sector, gutting the opportunity for our young people to be positioned to get quality futures by going after HBCUs. Think about it. I don't know about you guys, but I just got a text from a friend of mine yesterday who was reached out to by her alma mater law school, HBCU, talking about all the young people there who are getting job offers rescinded in this moment, who are having a hard time getting employment in the federal government that they had targeted in this moment. They are going after us from a multi-generational standpoint and a multi-dimensional standpoint in terms of how we have traditionally accessed economic power in this nation. So we have to start working together to create our own Black Wall Streets now. 2.0 version of one that is around not necessarily a physical space, but ways in which we can move differently in this moment so that we can grow economic success in spite of what they are attempting to do. So if you want to learn more, I see a few of them in the chat right now. Drop more in the comments. As soon as I get off of here, I'll inbox you some information, because I'm serious. We got to fight back. They are coming for us. They're coming for our babies. They're coming for everything that we've worked for. And I don't know about you, but I'd be damned if I let them get it. All right, you guys, with that said, I hope y'all have a wonderful evening. I'm going to get off here. I'm going to inbox you guys who have put more in the chat. I look forward to getting you in on what I'm developing. And I look forward to seeing y'all later. Listen, be strong. We're going to have to. But let me tell you this. They haven't beaten us yet, and they're not going to beat us now. It ain't happening. With that said, have a wonderful evening, you guys. I will talk with you later. Take care.